Okay, we're going to start the Thursday, July 14th, 2022 voting session for the Keystone Central Board of Directors. We're going to start off with the call to order and a flag salute and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Tracy, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Dietrich,
Here.
Mrs. Donahue,
Here.
Mr. Elling,
Here.
Mr. Johnston,
Here.
Mr. Knopf, Mr. Koch, Ms. Lynch,
Here.
and Mrs. Smith.
Madam Secretary, am I chopped liver?
Oh, Mr. Miller. Sorry
By
about
the
that.
virtue of technology, I guess I'm kind of here.
And Mrs. Smith, I can see you on the screen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, I'm here.
7 members present.
All righty, let's move on to the next issue, which is the presentation. Since there is none, do we have anybody signed up for hearing?
No,
Visitors?
no
Okay.
visitors.
Well, then let's move this along. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. I would like to recognize our professional staff members for their commitment to learning over the summer months. Christina Manning has been working with our behavior specialist, Kelly Swartwood, to train key school leaders and principals on restorative practices. You'll see restorative practices coming up in some of the policies as it's required by the state for us to use restorative practices in our discipline policies. Also, Megan Hall has been overseeing the training of our elementary teachers on the new math curriculum and materials from Bridges, which is our new core math program. So it's been nice to see some folks here. It's been a full house this week with so many people coming in for trainings. Since we met last week as a board, Governor Wolf signed a $45.2 billion budget into effect for the 22-23 fiscal year. This budget includes historic increases for funding public schools, including an $856.1 million in subsidy increases and $260 million in additional grant funding. So board members of Keystone Central should recall that we approved a balanced budget, and that budget did not count on any increased funding from the state. So I'm pleased to inform you that we have received increased funding in 3 main areas for a total of approximately $1.6 million. In basic ed funding, it was approximately a 5% increase for about a little over $1 million there. The special education funding was increased by about $282,000, which was a 7.8% increase in special ed funding. And in for school safety and mental health, we received an additional approximately $300,000 there. So along with the budget, state legislators passed several changes to the school code, including adjustments to the Keystone exam requirements, certification requirements for out-of-state applicants, access to career and technical programs, to name a few. I am still reviewing the new requirements. There's a nice thick packet and a lot of reading. I've received some of this today and been working through it with some superintendent colleagues in IU10. And while I'm still reviewing the new requirements, I know there are some new unfunded mandates in these requirements.
Of course.
So
Imagine that.
once all of those details have been sorted out, I would like to reconvene the Finance Committee to share recommendations on where we plan to apply the additional $1.6 million in subsidies. So that is all I have for you today.
All righty, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to committee reports, since there hasn't been anybody that had meetings, let's skip that and go right into reports. Okay, the treasurer report. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to the financial reports. Any questions on that? Okay, nothing there. Then student enrollment report. Any questions on that? Okay, very good. Okay, so let's move on to.
Mr. Vice President, there is a question
Oh.
from the Zoom land.
I didn't see Elizabeth having her hand up. I do now, though. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi. It would, I mean, I appreciate asking, and that's really important, but if there's, Dr. Martin or anyone out there, if there's anything that's changed from last week, if you could just let us know, because from what I'm assuming, minus a few additions, nothing else changed, right? From last week?
Correct. The Blooms, there were some changes to the personnel reports, some additions, which were marked by stars, as Tracy Long indicated to board members in an email,
Mhm.
as well as the Blooms contract, which I did want to say a few words about that.
Okay, thank you. Just want to clarify. Thanks so much.
No
If
problem.
memory serves, I believe that J9, 10, and 11 were added, and there were some changes on K1.
Yes. They were also added. They are renewal contracts.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
One further, Mr. Vice President, just on section H policy. I note that these 6 items are repeats from last week, so even though it's not otherwise noted in the agenda, are we to consider that these are on second read and that the vote tonight will put them into effect?
That is correct.
Just want to keep us legal and make sure that I do my role as the unofficial parliamentarian.
And I greatly appreciate that. Okay. So any other questions or comments? Okay. With that being said, let's move on to board. So first of all, does anybody have any questions on any of this? I mean, it's all been gone over last meeting, so.
Mr. Vice President, I think this is probably the point in the meeting where it's appropriate to call for a motion to move the agenda.
Not yet, Bo.
No,
Okay,
We got some stuff we got to get into.
okay.
section of town
Okay.
because we've already discussed, I mean, at least in G and H
Mhm.
Okay.
and I also.
Okay. So we've done that. Okay. Nothing there. Section H, the policies. These are all, as Bo made mention of, these are second reads. We will be voting on these tonight. Any questions on these?
No.
None? Okay. The minutes. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, good there. Let's move on to J, business. Now, on here, we did have an add-on and,
Two, actually.
well, yeah,
3.
so, yeah, because of
I forgot
joinder
about the
and
other
all
2
that, yeah.
contracts.
So I tell you what,
I'll speak to
yeah,
those.
do you want to
Okay.
bring up about
So
them?
the IDA 611 agreement is a renewal that something we do annually, I believe with IU 10. And we received those updated numbers and that agreement recently. So we wanted to add that to this this week's agenda. The second, J10 is the Lycoming Clinton Joinder Board Agreement. Again, this is an annual agreement that we do. And we just received that. So we added it to the July agenda as well. And the Blooms contract. So the Blooms contract refers to an electronic platform that will allow us to improve communications internally within the district and externally to parents and stakeholders, families, and so forth. You may recall that when I presented in June on the communication plan, one of our priorities was to find some kind of a communication tool to increase the communication in our secondary schools. Parents seem to be very happy with Clash Dojo. Teachers and parents could communicate frequently through the Dojo app. And over like 95% of our parents were signed up for the Dojo communications. It might have even been a little higher than that. So we knew that that was working. So our goal was to find an app that was working for secondary. In exploring the options for that, our team, I know Megan, Chad, and Patty were involved in leading that charge, came across Blooms. Are very impressed with its features. I asked them to also seek out competitors to Blooms and compare products, which they did. They had two different they had a presentation from a second company, and they felt that Blooms was superior. So at that point, we shared the demo and had the owner of the company provide a demo to our principals and our directors on Wednesday of this week. And based on that conversation, it was decided that this tool was superior to Class Dojo. Class Dojo was free, so it had limited capabilities. What everyone liked about this was that first and foremost, our families would be able to have one app for all children. It's a kind of a one-stop shop. They don't have to learn one thing for every different school or every different developmental level. It also increased our capability for communications, whereas if just the principal wanted to send a message just to one classroom, or the school nurse wanted to send to the parents of one classroom versus the whole school, or if the superintendent wanted to send a message district-wide to all families, all grade levels, or any combination, part or in whole by school. So there is a responsibility for parents to sign up for this tool, and we will do our best to communicate with families and encourage them to sign up. We do not have a problem getting families to sign up for the current Dojo tool. So we believe that this has the potential to be very successful. So I apologize for bringing this to you 24 hours before the vote. What I do want to say, that language in the motion says to not to exceed that amount. This was the initial invoice that we received. We are working with the owner to reduce this amount. And so it should not exceed this amount. I expect it to be less.
Okay.
Any questions on that communication tool?
Yes, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I mean, I understand why the board wasn't involved. I mean, this is a management situation, but I would have loved to have learned about this. It sounds fascinating. A basic Google, whoever found this, please, thank you very much. The only question I had is this just for to contact the guardians, the parents? Would that also, is this going to also be anything for security, like outside police, or is this just a completely internalized piece of software?
Yeah, it's an internal software that we would utilize to contact families and to provide information, but it's a two-way communication tool.
Okay.
So parents can also message back. It also has the capability to tell, if we sent a message out, it tells us how many parents actually open the messages, how many recipients open the messages. We can pull reports. We can track a lot of data from this tool as well. I believe it'll help us measure our effectiveness in communication with the communication plan. So it'll provide us with additional data points to know if when we have to, or when we need to maybe make adjustments there.
Will we be able to do surveys through this?
We can send surveys, just like I can send the superintendent's newsletter currently gets emailed to all staff and put on the website. But with our current communication tools, we'd have to send a message to parents through the alert messages to say, please check the website for a message. Where
Right.
this sends the message directly to people with the links or the newsletters and all the pieces. I mean, we really should be using emergency tools for true emergencies.
Right.
And use this communication tool for information about the prom, information about scheduling, information about open house, information, progress reports or teachers. I know that many teachers have used the previous app to communicate daily behavior charts or behavior points, or to send homework to families for students who were absent. So it's really a nice way, and it's immediate, and our families seem to have responded to the other tool. I did not want to force the elementary principals to switch from where they were, but when they saw the capabilities here, they felt this did so much more that they were on board with a K-12 switch.
Okay. My whole question on that was, if we're able to send out like links to a survey or something like that, you said we're able to actually take a look at how many people are actually opening this.
Opening the mails.
Yeah, so that
Mhm.
way we'll be able to see just what our actual stats are for that, communication.
Mhm.
All right, sounds good. Bo, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I have my virtual hand up. I would like to ask, has this been vetted through instructional technology and Chad's group to make sure that it will coexist in our existing application infrastructure and our current tech stack, so that it'll integrate with SAML and single sign-on and so forth for district employees, so it's not just yet another system that folks have to create another account for. I mean, I know that parents and so forth will have to do so because they don't have district accounts, but I would like to, and if it's not the case, it's not the end of the world, but it would be really, really nice if that could integrate with our existing authentication and authorization structure. And I know Chad's not here right now to answer that, and it's not gonna prevent me from voting yes. It's just something that I would like to have on record that I asked the question.
Well, you'll be very pleased to know that Chad was the one, along with Megan, who initiated the search for potential tools. So in this particular process, which I know is different from the way things typically happen in education entities, it started with the tech department to look for capabilities first. And Bo, that is so important, which is why in our restructure several years ago, we nested technology under curriculum and instruction. And because technology and curriculum instruction are no longer two different things. They really mesh and blend together. And so it initiated with Chad. He's been the key leader in contact with them on the tools and all the specs. And he's the one that brought it forward for then the instructional leaders to see.
That's absolutely amazing. I would even use one of my terms, amazeballs awesome, for how that works. And I'm very, very happy to see that. I have no qualms about voting yes on this now.
All righty.
And Elizabeth, you mentioned wanting to learn more. It's not too late. There is a video link. I know, Jeff, you found that. Was it in the quote? Was it linked in the
Yes,
quote?
it's in there, and it's also on their website.
So I will track that down and email it to you for ease of access.
I would love that.
Actually, if you just open the document up that's linked on Board Docs,
Right.
apparently this company is tech savvy enough that they figured out how to embed videos inside of a PDF, which is something I didn't even really realize was possible.
I don't know.
But yeah,
It
yeah,
does.
that's there. So you just open the document up and you can watch the videos and so forth.
Yeah, the video,
Cool.
it'll take you right to YouTube to watch it. So
Oh, that's
Wow.
wonderful. This is great
Uh,
news. I love 21st century.
Well,
We're just leaps and bounds from where we were 5 years ago. I mean, thank you.
Well, I
Well-
apologize for bringing this to you at the 11th hour, but after the principals were so excited about this yesterday, I felt that we could get in under the 24-hour requirement to have it posted on a public agenda, and wanted to ask for your support this evening so that we can get the product finalized, ordered, and start the training this summer and the setup.
Okay.
Well, I'm really, really excited about this. And for the main reason is that I totally agree that we need to improve the communication at the secondary level, because there are way too many things that just don't get sent out. And I really hope that all the departments in the secondaries take advantage of this to disseminate information out to parents, because I think this is a perfect tool to do that with. And I really, I'm anxious to see how that happens. And I hope that the principals and the different departments take full advantage of this, because it's a great way to get information out, especially because it's easier to get out to elementary, obviously, to those kids, but it's much more difficult with middle and high school for obvious reasons. So,
And the cost per student is low compared to what we're going to gain in communication and parent and family engagement.
I
Thank you.
agree.
for
I think
your-
All
it's
right.
it's money well spent.
Elizabeth, I happen to see you wave. Now, I don't know whether you were saying goodbye or whether you had something else to say. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure before we move on. Okay, good enough. All right. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to personnel. Does anybody have any questions with that? Okay, hearing none, let's move on with the athletics. Now, there was some questions before, but about this with the,
Yeah, if Mr. Condo, I know there was a question with regard to the marching band if you want to address that.
Yeah, the salary for that particular position reflects both the director and assistant director salaries that are split between the two. So it's actually two salaries that are split between both those individuals.
okay,
So it's not just one salary line item.
okay,
So those numbers are correct.
Yes, yep.
okay. All right, just wanted to make sure about that, so. All right, so now, with that being cleared up, we have gone through the entire agenda. I will accept a motion to for moving the agenda.
I will make that motion to move the entire agenda, except for any items that anyone would like to have
Okay,
pulled out.
can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Oh,
Thank you.
Mrs. Smith.
Okay, does anybody have anything that needs to be pulled? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
well, you have to make you had a motion to, okay, move it.
Yeah, we already
It's
got
also
that.
moved.
Yeah. Okay.
Point of order, there is a motion on the floor properly seconded at this point, so I think that we either move to discussion, or if there's no discussion, we move to the vote.
Well, that's what I was trying to do, is get to the vote so we could get out of here.
Is
So with that.
Honestly, Mr. Vice President, this has been kind of odd. Usually, we wouldn't go through the entire agenda and then vote. We would pull anything that was that had questions for discussion, but I see nothing in Robert's Rules of Order that prevents us from doing things the way that we've done it tonight. So please
Okay.
proceed.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian. All right. So with that being said, there's a motion on the table. It has been properly seconded.
any discussion?
Any discussion, as we've already talked about most of it, but any discussion? None? Okay. All in favor of moving the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion to adjourn.
I would love to second it, but I can't.
Mr. Elling, and since you're leading the meeting, I will gladly second it.
Oh, thank you so much, Bo. Okay, with that being said, that's it. We're done.